Mr. Patrick, you have a business model. You're making over 50% profit margin. You are able to give the shaft to small businesses. Estimated cost to Missouri businesses from these fees is $1.5 billion. That's with a B, $billion a year. Why aren't all of these businesses running away from this model? Because they don't have a choice, because you control so much of the market. This is classic monopolistic behavior, and yet your testimony here today is you don't want any competition. You have 80% of the market, but you don't want any more competition. I'm having a hard time finding that position defensible, let alone sympathetic. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of money that you're making. It's unbelievable what you're charging small businesses and consumers, and yet your testimony is, please, we can't possibly have any competition. I mean, let's talk about what you're doing to consumers who hold your cards. Last year, as I understand it, there were 726 million Visa and Mastercard credit cards issued in the United States. That's about 2 for every 1 person in the United States of America. Do either of you?
Okay, did you just see that? That is Senator Josh Hawley taking 2 of the most powerful financial executives in America apart, live on camera. And most people have no idea this even happened. What got me is that this man came prepared. Profit margins, debt figures, interest rate averages, market share data. He did his homework and it showed. And those executives? They were squirming. We're going to watch the full video together, and I'll break down what's happening, because this affects every single person who has ever swiped a card or run a small business in this country. If you're new here, hit subscribe, because this is exactly what we cover. Let's watch.
Hawley. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on that point about Visa and Mastercard being successful businesses, I think you figured it out, haven't you? I mean, what's your profit margin, Mr. Patrick?
It's circa 50%.
Mr. Sheedy?
Slightly higher.
It's higher than 50% profit margin?
Slightly higher than MasterCard, yes.
Yeah, that's incredible. 50% profit margin. I mean, that's absolutely unbelievable. What's the answer to the Walmart question, by the way, that Senator Welch posed to you? What's Walmart's interchange fee that you negotiate with them?
I don't have it with me today.
You don't have any idea whatsoever? Is it higher or lower than 2.5%?
Walmart negotiates their rates based on the business that they do with us.
Meaning they're big. They're really big. They're gigantic. So they get a better deal than Mr. Callahan or most small businesses in Missouri. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, Senator, we have volume discounts that we offer to some merchants. I suspect Walmart is one of them. And I don't believe that it's commercially unreasonable to get an arrangement where, in exchange for more volume, a merchant can qualify for lower rates?
Well, I'm sure it's not commercially unreasonable for Walmart, or certainly it's in their financial interest and in yours, but I doubt it's in Mr. Callahan's financial interest. And my question to you, Mr. Callahan, is when you've got Walmart and other major competitors getting charged much less than you are, why in the world would you stick with these guys? I mean, why is it that small businesses continue to use Visa and MasterCard when you're getting charged so much more?
It's in my opinion, it's a matter of convenience for the customer, and customers matter to our business.
Maybe is it because that Visa and MasterCard are effectively monopolies? They control 80% of the market.
Certainly part of the
80% of the market. I'm just having a hard time understanding, Mr. Sheedy and Mr. Patrick. You have a business model. You're making over 50% profit margin. You are able to give the shaft to small businesses. Estimated cost to Missouri businesses from these fees is $1.5 billion. That's with a B, $1 billion a year. Why aren't all of these businesses running away from this model? Because they don't have a choice, because you control so much of the market. This is classic monopolistic behavior, and yet your testimony here today is you don't want any competition. You have 80% of the market, but you don't want any more competition. I'm having a hard time finding that position defensible, let alone sympathetic. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of money that you're making. It's unbelievable what you're charging small businesses and consumers, and yet your testimony is, please, we can't possibly have any competition. I mean, let's talk about what you're doing to consumers who hold your cards. Last year, as I understand it, there were 726 million Visa and Mastercard credit cards issued in the United States. That's about 2 for every 1 person in the United States of America. Do either of you know how much debt is owed on your networks, Ms. Kirkpatrick?
We're not the bank, so we don't have visibility into that information. We also don't generate revenue from interchange.
Oh, okay, you have no idea. Mr. Sheedy, do you know?
I don't know.
Well, let me help you out. Let's have a look. It's $1.17 trillion. $1.17 trillion is what consumers now owe on your credit card networks. Do either of you know what the average interest rate is on your networks? Ms. Kirkpatrick?
Oh, Senator, we're not the bank. We don't set the interchange.
I know,
we don't
but
set
you
the
benefit
rates.
from it, and you know. Do you know what it is? This is your business model.
We
do you
don't.
know?
We don't collect
Do you know,
revenue
Mr.
from
Sheedy,
interest rates.
do you know?
I don't, Senator.
I mean, do either of you read the newspaper? Forbes magazine just estimated last week that the average credit card APR in your networks is 28.75%. Average. 29%, let's call it. 29%. It's nearly doubled in the last 4 years. That is astounding, absolutely astounding. And you just testified a second ago that you've got more than 50% profit margin, and yet your testimony here today is you can't possibly survive if there's any competition. How can that be true? How can that be true? You've got debt like we've never seen before in American history. Your profit margins are as high or higher than they've ever been. You have 80% of the relevant market in the credit card interchange fees that we're talking about, and yet you couldn't survive if there's any competition? What am I missing? That's not a rhetorical question. How is it that you can't do any better?
Senator, we like competition very much. As my colleague from Mastercard mentioned, we don't loan money to consumers. That's the job of the banks. I will say, as it relates to small business, we care very much. And the pandemic was difficult on small business more than anyone. In 2022, we lowered rates for 90% of small businesses in the United States. I also think that many of the security and the digital features that have been put in the network help small businesses.
Wait a minute, but wait a minute. My time is almost expired. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. But hold on just a second. You've increased the swipe fees consistently in the last few years. You've raised them, even as your network has expanded, even as your profit margins have gone up. You've raised the swipe fees. And in terms of competition, you are paying competitors not to enter the market. The DOJ lawsuit says that you threaten retailers with staggering financial penalties. That's a quote, staggering financial penalties if they use a competitor, and you're paying Apple and Square and others not to compete in your market. You've got 80% market share, and you are paying off would-be competitors not to come into the market while you charge people like Mr. Callahan, who knows how much more than big entities like Walmart. I mean, this is just classic collusive monopoly behavior. And your testimony is you can't accept any more competition. I agree with one thing that my colleagues down the dais have said, which is that this is not a sustainable situation. It is not sustainable. This has to change. $1.17 trillion in debt, this has to change. And I'll just end with this, Mr. Chairman. I thought one of the best proposals that the President-elect Trump, made during his last campaign, his most recent campaign, was to cap the interest rates of credit cards. So we could do that. We could do this and that. I think it's a great idea. I don't know why 30% interest rate should be charged on debt like this. I don't understand it. And I don't understand why you won't accept the smallest modicum of competition when it comes to these retailer fees. And I'm just here to tell you, this will not stand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Watch. Okay, we're back. Let me start with the single most damning moment in that entire clip. Hawley asks both executives what the average interest rate is on their networks. Two people running companies that process trillions of dollars in transactions every year. Neither of them could answer. We're not the bank. We don't collect revenue from that. That's what they had. Hawley had to tell them what their own industry's APR was. 28.75%. Nearly 29%. Almost doubled in 4 years. And $1.17 trillion in consumer debt sitting on their networks. Neither executive could even pretend to care enough to know that number. But what really got me was the small business angle. Mr. Callahan is sitting right there and basically says the quiet part out loud. He stays with Visa and Mastercard not because it's a good deal for him, but because his customers expect it. That is not a free market. That is a captive market. When nobody on either side has a real alternative, that's not competition. That's a toll booth, and Visa and Mastercard own the road. Then Hawley drops the Walmart comparison, and it's devastating. Walmart negotiates special lower rates because of their volume. Mr. Callahan and small business owners across the country, they pay full price. The biggest and most powerful get the discount, and the little guy pays full price. If that doesn't make your blood boil, I don't know what will. The 80% market share point is something people don't fully appreciate either. When two companies control 80% of how money moves in retail transactions in this country, that is not competition. That is a duopoly. And duopolies behave exactly the way Hawley described. They raise prices, suppress alternatives, and dare you to do something about it. The DOJ lawsuit allegations Hawley referenced made it even worse, threatening retailers with massive financial penalties for using a competitor, paying Apple and Square to stay out of the market. If those allegations hold up, that is not innovation winning in the marketplace. That is power buying its own protection. What struck me most about Hawley throughout all of this was that he was calm. He wasn't performing. He wasn't yelling for the clip. He was prosecuting. There is a difference. And you could see in those executives' body language that they felt it. Go back to the 50% profit margin for a second. Over half of every dollar in fees stays as pure profit. Over half. And their testimony is that competition would threaten their survival? With a 50% profit margin? That argument doesn't even pass the laugh test. Now, some people will say these are private companies. They can charge what they want. I get that. I'm not against businesses being profitable. But there is a real difference between a business competing and winning and a business that locks out competition through market dominance and then squeezes people who have no other choice. One is capitalism working. The other is capitalism broken. Hawley is right that this is not sustainable. $1.17 trillion in consumer debt. 29% average APR. Swipe fees going up even as profits grow. Small businesses subsidizing the deals that giant corporations negotiate. This system works incredibly well for a very small number of people and grinds down everyone else. Whether you agree with every solution he proposed or not, the problem he is describing is real. The numbers are real. That debt is real. $1.5 billion a year out of Missouri businesses alone is real. This is what congressional oversight is supposed to look like. Holding the most powerful financial players in the country to account, on the record, in public. So yes, I'm a fan of what Hawley did in that room. Not because of party or politics, but because someone needed to say it and he said it with receipts. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think anything actually changes from this? Share the video if it gave you something to think about, because more people need to see this conversation. See you in the next one.